Today, we're diving into a pretty chilling analysis from the Political and Economic Weekly of Pakistan. It paints a picture of a security situation in and around Afghanistan that, frankly, is spiraling out of control.
So let's imagine for a second that it's 2025. The big promise was stability in Afghanistan, right? But the reality? It's a mess of alarming headlines from all over the globe. The huge question is, what went so wrong? Let's follow the evidence.
Okay, so here's our first clue. Picture this. A homemade quadcopter drone attacks a Chinese-run gold mine, right on the border between Afghanistan and Tajikistan. The result is tragic. 3 Chinese engineers are killed. And just like that, the whole region is on a knife's edge.
And it doesn't stop there. Just a few days after that, the threat literally goes global. 2 U.S. soldiers get ambushed, not in some far-off war zone, but in Washington, D.C. The alleged connection? The attacker was reportedly communicating with groups operating out of Afghanistan. So you've got 2 attacks on 2 different continents, but all signs are pointing back to the same source.
So what ties all this together? Well, at the very heart of this escalating crisis is one simple thing: a promise. A really big promise that has been completely, utterly shattered.
Let's just rewind for a second to August 2021. The Taliban are taking Kabul, and they make this huge public pledge. This was a key part of the Doha Agreement with the U.S. It was basically their sales pitch to the world for legitimacy. A clear promise, no wiggle room. And that, right there, is the core of the problem. On one hand, you have the promise to keep terrorist groups out. On the other, the grim reality: a massive surge in violence just pouring over Afghanistan's borders.
And what's the human cost of a broken promise like this? According to Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister, it's a single staggering number: 4,000. That's how many people Pakistan says it's lost to terrorism traced back to Afghanistan since the Taliban takeover.
Okay, so let's really dig into what's happening on the ground, especially from Pakistan's point of view.
And what's so striking here is how specific these accusations are. I mean, Pakistan isn't just making vague statements. They're pointing to concrete things. Attacks are way up. TTP fighters, that's the Pakistani Taliban, are being moved to the border where they can operate freely, a staggering death toll, and they've even found evidence of Afghan nationals taking part in suicide attacks inside their country.
This quote from Pakistan's special envoy to Afghanistan just sums everything up. It's such a blunt admission that the peace they were all hoping for next door has actually turned into a total security nightmare.
So, if that's the effect, what's causing it all? Well, the answer lies in this whole militant ecosystem that is now absolutely flourishing on Afghan soil. I mean, just look at this list. This isn't 1 or 2 rogue groups hiding out. According to UN and US sources, it's a who's who of regional and global terror organizations. You've got the TTP, ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, groups with fighters from Central Asia and China. It's a seriously diverse and dangerous landscape.
And look, this isn't just speculation. International monitors are providing hard data. A recent UN panel report, for instance, estimates around 6,000 TTP fighters are getting logistical support. 2,000 ISIS-K fighters are actively recruiting, and Al-Qaeda is setting up new training camps. The evidence is just piling up. This all leads to a really critical point. This is no longer just a regional problem for Afghanistan and its immediate neighbors. This has become a spreading global threat. And you can already see the ripple effects. Tajikistan is on edge after the mine attack. China is issuing warnings to its citizens. Russia's security officials are voicing serious concern. And even the European Union is now formally citing Taliban-enabled cross-border terrorism as a threat. So yeah, what was once seen as Pakistan's problem is now on everyone's radar.
And we really have to understand why. In this day and age, terrorism is borderless. Ideology spreads online, money moves through cryptocurrency, and encrypted platforms connect operatives across continents. As the source material puts it, distance offers no protection. And that's exactly right.
So where does all this leave us? Well, we're staring down the barrel of a huge credibility crisis, and not just for the Taliban, but for the entire international approach to Afghanistan.
There's this quote from an analyst in the source material that's just, it's chilling, but it absolutely captures the problem. The failure to uphold counter-terror pledges has turned the country into a protected space for these groups to reorganize, train, and plan.
The diplomatic consequences are severe. Any trust that was there, it's evaporated, gone. According to one EU official, the window for diplomacy is rapidly closing.
Those promises made in Doha are now pretty much seen as completely empty. And that leaves us with this final, stark question. This analysis suggests the world is at a crossroads. Does it find a way to impose real consequences on the Taliban regime for these broken promises? Or does it just brace for what comes next, which could be a new and potentially much worse cycle of terror? It's a choice with no easy answers at all.